In this video, I'm going to give you everything you need to know to grow an avocado tree from a seed or a grafted tree. I'll show you the temperatures and sun needed, soil type and amendment, watering, fertilizing, pollination, pest and disease control, and harvesting. Like I said, everything. We'll start with a seed. As a California kid growing up with avocado trees, we would always sprout seeds the traditional way with toothpicks and a glass of water. Just take 3 toothpicks and poke them into the seed enough where it's not going to pull out easily, then sit it in a glass of water. You can also use a hyacinth glass for the same effect without the toothpicks. Place your seed in a spot that's warm and bright but out of direct sunlight. Change the water once a week or anytime it becomes cloudy. Before the seed starts to sprout, the top of the seed dries out, the outer brown covering falls off, and the pit splits open from top to bottom. You can also bury the seed halfway in potting soil. Either way, in the end, works about the same. Now, I need to tell you something, and I hate to be the one to break it to you, but growing an avocado tree from a seed, it will take between 8 and 20 years to produce fruit, if ever. Only 20% of avocado trees grown from seed will ever produce fruit. And out of that, you have a 1 in 20,000 chance your avocado will have the taste and fat content that makes avocados as delicious as they are. I've tried avocados grown from seed and they are practically inedible. If you're looking for a nice tropical houseplant, growing an avocado tree from seed is fun and, for the goal of a houseplant, rewarding. If you're looking to grow an avocado tree to harvest avocados, you want to buy a grafted tree. It's well worth the investment considering the seed alternative. Assuming that you're here to grow an avocado tree to eventually harvest avocados, I'm going to show you how. Let's first talk about varieties. You need to first do your research to find out the variety that's right for you. And we're talking about taste here. You want to make sure it has the right fat content because the fat content in different fruits, different avocado varieties, varies widely. I would recommend going to a farmer's market. You might get to taste different ones and talk to the farmer about them. Or you could go to Google. There just won't be any tasting involved, but some varieties grow larger than others, so you can find the one that's right for your size of space. They're also harvested at different times if that's important to you. This variety I'm planting today is a reed, and it has a very tall, narrow, almost columnar type of growth habit. You harvest it in summer and fall. It's large, it's round, and it almost has a fat content similar to Hass, which is one of the most popular varieties. I'm eventually going to be planting 2 more trees, a Hass and a Fuerte. Now between the 3, they all have different harvest times. So when I've got all 3 in production, I will be able to harvest avocados 365 days out of the year. So let's tackle the elephant in the room, temperature. Avocados are considered tropical or subtropical. If you don't live in one of those climates, it is possible to grow them and get them to produce under grow lights, but it will require more work and vigilance. Avocados do best at moderately warm temperatures between 65 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and they like a moderate humidity. Once established, they can tolerate short periods of temperature down to 32 degrees or even down to 28 for really short periods of time. Below that, and you're out of luck. So we're talking zones 9 to 11. So let's get to planting. The best time to plant an avocado is March through June. Now here I am planting an avocado in August, but I do need to get it out of this pot. The reason it's not great to plant your avocados in the hotter months is because in the summer months, avocados, especially small ones, have more of a problem absorbing water quick enough to match the heat that is bringing the moisture out of their leaves. And so they do have a tendency to get burned a little bit easier. But this is a 15-gallon pot, so it's a little bit larger than one you might get at a typical nursery. It's a little more established, but I'm also going to give it a little bit of shade with a shade cloth for the first few weeks. I'm going to be planting this tree in full sun, which is required. 8 hours of sun or more is what you're aiming for. Here in California, you'll see avocados growing on hillsides, and that's great for 2 reasons. Number 1, they like excellent drainage, and a hillside provides them with that. You'll also want to protect them from frost in zone 9, and a hillside will allow colder air to flow toward the bottom and away from your tree. If you're not worried about frost and you have sandy or loamy soil, planting on flat ground is totally fine. If you have clay soil and no sloping area to plant them, you can plant them up on top of a mound. The mound should be about 1 to 2 feet high and 3 to 5 feet in diameter. Here we have excellent drainage, great soil, but we do straddle zone 9B and 10A. So we do get a little bit of frost, but most of it travels to the lower side of our property and out across the street. So for us, a hillside isn't really needed, but we're planting on one just because this is where we want the avocado tree. So you want to dig a hole as deep as the current root ball. That being said, I have a big hole here because we had an avocado tree planted here that got killed by a gopher. So this time we're using a gopher basket. I'll leave a link in the video description on how to make these. Avocado trees thrive with a soil pH of 6 to 6.5. You don't want to amend the hole with compost or gravel. You want the roots to really get in there and from day one get used to your soil and just be able to put their roots out and become established. Avocado trees have a very sensitive root system, and so they need to be disturbed as little as possible through the transplanting process. Now here's the best way to do it. Cut the bottom off of the pot with a box cutter. Try to examine the roots. If it's root bound, tease them out and clip any roots going in circles around and around the pot. Then cut a slit up the side of the pot and remove the pot that way. Place it in the hole with or without a gopher basket and backfill with your native soil. Avocado trees are shallow rooted with much of its feeder roots in the top 6 inches of soil, and we don't want those roots drying out. So we're going to mulch heavily over our drip irrigation tube. We'll talk about water next. But this mulch will save water, seeing that avocado trees are very thirsty. And you want to use an extra coarse wood chip style mulch. You want a 6-inch layer of mulch all the way around the tree, about 2 feet out from the trunk, and you want to make sure that you leave some space between the mulch and the actual trunk. So like I said, avocado trees are thirsty. They need to be watered maybe 2 to 3 times a week in their first year. Mature avocado trees need about 2 inches of water per week during the summer. They like a consistently moist root run, but do not like to be sitting in a swamp. You especially want to make sure they're well watered in July or August. If you let them dry out at that time, you're going to get a lot of fruit drop. As far as fertilizer is concerned, I like Citrus Tone from Espoma. It's great for citrus, but also works well for avocados. And follow the directions on the bag because it depends on the size of your tree. That depends on how much fertilizer you want to give it at any particular time. It's a common mistake to think you need 2 avocado trees for good pollination. Avocado flowers are self-fertile, meaning they will do just fine with 1 tree. Now, if you're growing on a commercial scale, you're probably going to want more than 1 tree to boost production. But if you're growing for a household, 1 tree is going to suit you just fine. There are type A avocados and type B avocados, and that's just describing how the flowers open. Type A avocados bloom with their female reproductive parts available first and do so in the morning. Type B avocado flowers also open in the morning, but in their male phase. Then each of them pull a switcheroo, and the flowers open as the opposite sex the following day in the afternoon. So if you're not growing for commercial purposes, you don't need to worry about that at all. And if you are growing for commercial purposes, just mix up your trees. But if you're growing for commercial purposes, you probably already knew that. The first year, you're going to be really excited because your tree's going to start to bloom and you might even get some small fruits on there. But don't get too excited because they'll probably all fall off. Don't get concerned though, that's totally normal. They will start to set and hold their fruit about 3 to 4 years after planting, depending on the size of the tree. This one, we probably have a couple years to wait. There are some pests and diseases to watch out for. The first one is giant whitefly. Now, they're not that much bigger than regular whitefly, but they are bigger. They'll start to show up in March, and the leaves will start to look black and sticky. You might even develop some long white beards hanging underneath the leaf. That's the whitefly. There are a couple things you can do. The first is a natural solution where you release a whitefly predator into the area. These giant whitefly came from Mexico, and in Mexico they have the predators naturally there, but here we don't. So here we need to release their natural predator, and one of their natural predators is the Delphastus beetle. There's also a non-stinging parasitic wasp, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name, but I will put it right here on the screen. If you provide moisture in your garden and lots of flowers for pollen, these predators only need to be released once and they will hang around, reproducing new generations year after year. Avocados are very susceptible to Phytophthora root rot. I got it in the first try. A thick mulch will protect against that. If it's really bad, you can apply a pound of gypsum per month around the root zone and water it in. Following these steps will give you tons of fruit for years and years to come. Want more amazing fruit? Click this video right here to learn how to grow citrus in the ground or in pots. I'll see you next time.